Donald Trump returned to power as the 47th president of the United States. A big celebration is going on inside the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. right now. President Trump was officially sworn in around noon today inside the Capitol Rotunda because of freezing temperatures. In his speech, President Trump laid out his vision for the nation and his blueprint for his second term in office. All this as former President Joe Biden marked his last day in office, boarding a plane from D.C. to California. We have team coverage. Kristine Johnson is live in our nation's capital. Carolyn Gussoff has more on the president's executive orders, and Marcia Kramer details Mayor Adams' trip to the inauguration. But let's begin with Kristine Johnson live in Washington on this very historic evening. Kristine.
Historic indeed, Dick. And with the events being moved indoors, supporters watched the inauguration from just down the block inside the Capital One Arena. So let's take a look as the president walked into a crowd of applause just a short time ago. A parade of performers, including the NYPD police band, walked through the venue. And all of this after the ceremony that was held earlier today inside the Capitol building.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Donald Trump took the oath of office, becoming the first president since Grover Cleveland in 1893 to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. His vice president, J.D. Vance, took his oath with his wife and young children by his side.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
Mr. Trump returns to office with an agenda in sharp contrast to his predecessor.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
He promised to take swift action on immigration.
I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
And he addressed plans for significant change to environmental policies.
We will drill, baby, drill.
And he underscored his feeling that he did not just receive a mandate from American voters as he spoke of the attempt on his life at a rally in July.
But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
The ceremony was capped by a performance of the national anthem from Long Island native Christopher Macchio. After the inauguration, President Trump, former President Biden, and former Vice President Harris said goodbye outside the Capitol. The Trumps walked with the Bidens to Special Air Mission 46 for their send-off. And later, speaking at Emancipation Hall, Trump addressed possible unity between Republicans and Democrats.
So I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense.
Now, the president promised to undo what he called the harmful policies of past administrations with a sweeping list of additional executive orders, including reinstating service members who refused to get the COVID vaccine with full back pay. And he also wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. President Trump promised to roll back protections for transgender people and end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs inside federal agencies. Carolyn Gussoff spoke to those that will be directly impacted.
It's going to be basketball and hockey.
Julie Gray Owens and her wife Barbara plan to only watch sports on Inauguration Day, bracing for directives that could upend their lives. And within minutes of Trump's second presidency,
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female.
a standing ovation for what Gray Owens, a transgender woman, calls hurtful and wrong.
It's not based on any kind of scientific knowledge. It's just an emotional attack
on a small community of people.
An issue that's taken center stage in Nassau, where County Executive Bruce Blakeman banned transgender athletes from competing on girls' teams at county facilities. At the inauguration, he applauded Trump.
I think it was stupid and dangerous for biological males to play with females in organized sports. I think it's stupid to allow biological males to take a shower in a women's locker room.
I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
DEI was implemented to root out systematic racism. Opponents like Trump frame it as reverse discrimination.
It is such an erroneous misuse given the type of people that he has nominated who actually are not merit-based appointees.
You cannot claim to unite the country while enacting policies designed to erase an entire community.
The orders will impact federal hiring and applications, such as for passports. It will end any taxpayer money being used for transition surgeries. The orders should have less of an impact in states like New York, which allow gender X on a driver's license. But civil rights advocates say the impact transcends state lines, calling it a giant step backwards. On Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff, CBS News, New York.
And the former president also making headlines today. Before President Trump was sworn in, former President Biden issued pardons to several of his family members. The list includes his brother James Biden and his wife Sarah, his sister Valerie Biden Owens and her husband John Owens, and also his brother Francis Biden. In a statement, the president made it clear that these pardons are not an admission of guilt. Instead, he said the actions were taken in response to what he called unrelenting attacks and threats from political opponents. Last year, he also issued a pardon for his son Hunter. Now, back out here live in our nation's capital. Up ahead, the first of 3 inaugural balls will begin very soon. Over the years, these glamorous galas have evolved and are really a grand celebration of the nation's peaceful transfer of power and also American history. The Liberty Inaugural Ball is geared towards Trump supporters and includes performers rapper Nelly and country singer Jason Aldean. The Commander-in-Chief Inaugural Ball is geared toward military service members. There will be performances by Rascal Flatts and also country singer Parker McCallum. Now, guests at the Starlight Ball are expected to be the big donors of Trump. Performers there will include Gavin DeGraw. Now, so much excitement here in Washington for people in the Republican Party and those that voted for President Trump. Much, much more celebrating ahead, Dick, tonight. As they say, the night is young.
The night is young indeed, Kristine. And we know so many of these events, all the events were moved inside because of the cold, except for you. You're going to stay out in the cold. But so many people who came to the mall, they wanted to get inside. What was their reaction when basically the party was pushed inside?
Overall, of course, they were very disappointed. I ran into one couple from southern New Jersey, actually, today, and they said, you know, listen, would we have loved to watch him take the oath of office in person? Absolutely. But I think just being here, taking in the spirit of a new era ahead for his supporters was enough for them. And, you know, the place to be, actually, were the restaurants and bars during the inauguration. I would liken it to a football game as he was giving his speech.
And indeed, tonight, it's the place to be. Hopefully, you'll get to at least one of those inaugural balls and come back and report on CBS 2 News at 11. Can you do that for us?
Absolutely. I will definitely see you at 11 o'clock.
Okay. Kristine Johnson in Washington, D.C., thank you so much. And Mayor Adams suddenly canceled his appearance at several Martin Luther King events after a last-minute invite to attend President Trump's inauguration. Political reporter Marsha Kramer says the move opened up Pandora's box of criticism from New Yorkers.
Nebraska cattle producer Charles W. Herbster, yes, he's the one in the Stetson, was Mayor Adams' seatmate in an overflow room at Donald Trump's inauguration. Adams canceled several Martin Luther King Jr. Day appearances after a last-minute, late-night invite from Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's envoy to the Middle East, who was present when Adams cemented his public bromance with Trump during a lunch at his Palm Beach Golf Club last Friday.
Every time I think I can't be more stunningly disappointed with this mayor, he says, yes, you can.
Adams' decision to start driving to Washington at 3 a.m. for the ceremony provoked an avalanche of criticism, some questioning whether it was enlightened self-interest on the part of the mayor, who is scheduled to go on trial in April on corruption charges.
Eric Adams had a chance to do a meeting with President Biden to address the migrant crisis. He canceled on that to rush back home because his friends were being raided. Eric Adams today decided to cancel on New Yorkers because Donald Trump beckoned for him to come down. He is making it very clear. What Eric cares more about is making sure that he does not go to jail.
Council Speaker Adrian Adams had this to say.
Some that should be here celebrating Dr. King with us in this room have chosen to go to Washington to celebrate Felon 47.
Baptist Ministers Conference President Reverend Dr. James Kilgore took a backhanded shot as he introduced Governor Hochul.
She was sharing with me how wonderful it was that she could be here in Harlem with us rather than Washington, D.C.
But the mayor, hoping for a better relationship with Donald Trump than he had with Joe Biden, called the inauguration, quote, a sacred American tradition. On MLK Day, like Reverend Dr. King said, we must put partisan politics aside to do what's best for our country, Adams said in a post on X.
All right, Marsha Kramer joining me now. The mayor rushes down and gets a last-minute invitation. Would it have been okay to say, sorry, I'm busy here?
Dick, you know Donald Trump. If he called you or had his friend call you and say, come to my inauguration, what would you do?
Yeah, tough to say no, right?
Well, look, you know that he doesn't take slights lightly.
No.
So when he has his best friend, Steve Witkoff, call you up at the last minute, don't you think it's sort of like a command performance and you rush down there to do it because you want to make sure you have a better relationship with President Trump than you have with President Biden?
And it might be for another reason, but we don't know.
We don't know about that.
We don't know for sure. Marsha Kramer, you'll be all over it. Thanks very much, Marsha. Yes. And look for continuing coverage tonight at 10 with a CBS News primetime report on Inauguration Day in America.